Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Moniz, thank you for being here. I'm glad to hear about the report of natural gas actually replacing coal in the marketplace or having more of a market share. As chairman of the subcommittee on energy, that's important to us. Do you think, just from a practical standpoint, so natural gas and nuclear, for that matter, I guess, would be labeled as one of the more cleaner energies, I guess, for lack of a better term? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Good. As you probably know, the Golden Pass LNG plant is actually in, well, you may not know it's in my district, and it's waiting to export, waiting on permits. The first DOE permit was first filed in 2012. Now, this project represents billions of dollars of private investment and thousands of jobs in Texas and in the nation. And you've already said natural gas is coming up in the marketplace. Glad to hear that. FERC, we want to get that permit expedited. It also has to have a permit from FERC. So all of these LNG plants, I would argue, are critical. Will you commit to working with me to advance critical infrastructure projects like this, help DOE to move those projects along, and in fact, provide timely updates to me and my staff on those applications and where they stand?
Oh, certainly. We've been, I think, very transparent and quite frankly, processing things quite fast once they have their FERC EIS. Because
think we can get that done in 30 days after their EIS is approved?
Oh, well, yeah. So the last 2 years, we've been getting things out between day time scale to month time scale. So okay. That's our intent.
Well, that's
and of course the FTA license was granted in 2012. It's the non-FTA that's now on the
right. So you're going to work with us, and we can get those as quickly as possible, because obviously we would like to take advantage of that market share increase that you're talking about.
The FERC's I believe FERC's docket shows the EIS coming up in the summer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what we want to hear. I'm going to jump over to nuclear now, put my nuclear hat on. H.R. 4084 is a bill that we passed out of this committee. Chairman Smith and Ranking Member Johnson were co-sponsors of it, as myself, and many others on the committee for that matter. And what it does is are you aware of that bill that instructs the DOE to focus on the next round of nuclear generators research, nuclear reactors research, and to be able to partner with the private industry to have the site developed so that we can actually come up with the next. Are you familiar with 4084?
Yeah, in general terms, not in specific.
Okay.
Right.
So on February the 29th, it passed the House by a voice vote. On January the 28th, the Senate language passed as an amendment by a recorded vote of 87-4. Now, I bring those numbers up because that's a pretty substantial backing, bipartisan bill that we would argue, known as the Nuclear Energy Innovation Capabilities Act. So you know about the bill, and I guess I'll put you on the spot. You support that kind of legislation?
Well, again, I don't know the specifics of the bill, but generally speaking, yes, I believe that nuclear and innovation in nuclear fission technologies is very important.
Sure, but you agreed with me earlier, or you actually stated an opinion that natural gas and nuclear is among the cleaner energies.
Yeah, no, so yes, I totally support the general objective,
right.
For sure.
So if we can bring in the next round of reactors, that would be advantageous to us.
We did provide up to $80 million for molten salt and for pebble bed development, for example, in addition to supporting the ongoing work with the small modular reactor.
Right. Well, the DOE Office of Nuclear Energy supports civilian nuclear R&D for energy and we would argue national security needs. Now, based on what's been happening around the world, and Representative Loudermilk brought it up earlier, what happened in Brussels, we would argue that we need to be very intense and focused on our national security, and this is one way that if we're in the lead, nuclear speaking, then we can help with non-proliferation. So I would say that for the DOE's, I hope, point of view, this is an important bill that would get you all support.
Yes, again, I don't know the specifics of
Sure.
the bill, but generally speaking, absolutely. I might also add, on Friday, in China, we dedicated a Center of Excellence on nuclear security.
Okay.
That addresses some of those questions that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Let me jump over real quick to, I think, one of the other members brought up the Iran nuclear deal. Now, even though I wasn't in support of that deal, and I would say, I forget the number, 70% of Americans were not in support of that deal was struck. And so it's important that we maintain the parameters of that deal and maintain a strict oversight on that nuclear deal. And I understand you were instrumental in negotiating that deal. Is that right?
I'm certainly heavily involved, yes.
I'm sorry?
I was certainly heavily involved.
You were heavily involved, so you were heavily invested?
Well, I did spend 19 days at the end straight in Vienna.
Okay. Well, we want to make sure that you keep our committee informed with any informational briefings that we need when you think that deal has been, the tenets of that deal has been broached. Will you commit to do that for us?
There's a well-established, led by state, I have to say, the State Department leads it with DOE supporting them in terms of keeping the Congress informed, including at a classified level.
Do you have any oversight purview of that deal? I mean, you're the quote-unquote nuclear expert, spent 19 days there. Are you watching?
By the way, along with Secretary Kerry, we were both
Okay.
there for 19 days.
Did Secretary Kerry go to MIT? I'm just asking.
Not yet.
Okay. You're working on him, are you?
Yeah, we're working on it, right.
Okay.
We did both go to Boston College, however.
But do you have any kind of oversight on that?
Yeah, so again, so the Department of Energy is core team in the implementation phase. So the answer is yes, and I personally remain engaged.
Okay, so you will come back to this if you see anything that adversely affects that deal, and of course our national security. You would come back to this committee.
We, again, through the state-led process, we will keep the Congress informed, including providing regular reports, typically through the Foreign Affairs Committee, but I think it's open to all members of Congress.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.